Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 119. I'm going to try to do this video again, but differently. I did this video not a while ago, but a few weeks ago, and I tried to, it's more of a movie review of this movie, Rock and Roll. However, it got pulled down for copyright infringement, so I'm going to do it differently and try not to make that same mistake twice. But I'm not going to really concentrate on the movie so much. I'm going to concentrate more on what I really want to talk about is the soundtrack, or the soundtrack that should have been, but never really was. I'll get into that. And again, on copyright, I want to make this abundantly clear to people, is I don't want to put any like music videos. So take for example the Ace Frehley video that I did with his new video. I don't want to play his video on my video. It'll get me a copyright strike against me. You only get 3 and you're out of here. So I already have 1. So I don't need 2 more. So I'm not going to play any of the music. Like I said this in the video, but apparently people don't watch the videos all the way through or get into it. So I'm going to say this right in the beginning. All of the stuff that I talk about, I would say for the most part, 90% of it is all available online. The music I'm talking about specifically, it's almost everything is available on YouTube Music. YouTube Music is free. You don't have to have the full YouTube Music to just look up a song on YouTube, right? You can look up any song. I would say probably 99% of all music that's out there is available. In this soundtrack proves it too, that it's available on YouTube. So, like I said, it doesn't take more 2 seconds just to click on another window, open it up, and put up and look for the music. Just type in exactly what I'm talking about, and boom, it's right there. So, again, I'm not trying to do clickbait with any of this stuff. I'm not trying to pull a fast one on anybody. I'm trying to tell you that I can't put the music on my video because it'll get me kicked off YouTube. Therefore, the stuff is all available, which again begs the question, if the stuff is available on YouTube, why would it be a copyright strike against me when it's not a copyright strike against the people that have it on YouTube? If it's not the copyright holders who are putting it on YouTube, right? So why is it still up? Unless it's okay? As I said, I don't know anything about it. I'm assuming it has to do with money. So it all comes down to money. So whatever is involved there is involved there. But again, I'm gonna talk about this soundtrack for this movie, and I'm gonna show you, because I'm gonna be on it, but I'm not gonna play it. I'm gonna show you on YouTube Music that you can get it too for free with just a couple of clicks. It's that simple. Let's just put that out there right now. So with that, first I'm going to make a, just pause for a second to show you. I got this, it came in the mail yesterday that I finally ordered, ordered it on Amazon, I think last Friday or Saturday, and it came. But I got these, not that it's a huge craziness, but I got these Kiss solo album picks. I got the one that just says Kiss out right now, which I have on my guitar, and I also got with it this cool thing, this Rock and Roll over leather strap. I needed a leather strap for this guitar because I need the suede interior. This guitar doesn't really have any neck dive, but it's just so much more comfortable wearing leather strap. Thicker, what's this, 2.5 or 2.75? 2.75 leather strap with a suede interior. Run this. It smells like leather, which I can't get enough of. But anyways, it secures it on your clothing and kind of keeps the guitar in place. And then I saw that they had these Kiss ones, and they have a Kiss solo album one, which I might get and throw on the bass. And I think they have a Destroyer, they have a Love Gun. They have pretty much my favorite albums. They've got these cool straps. I think these are really neat. So I put the Rock and Roll, ever since that is my favorite album. I put that on the Leo James, and then I got that set of picks. So it's floating way over there is the little Kiss pick that I pulled out of there. But I got some Iron Maiden picks my son got me last Christmas or Father's Day or something, and then I think he's getting a Rush set, maybe not. He put it on his wish list. Who knows if Santa Claus is going to bring it or not? But there's one with all the Rush albums on it. He says he's over Rush all of a sudden, because I said, what albums are you missing on CD or vinyl? And he says, oh, I think I'm done with Rush. I'm like, are you missing it? He said, I thought you needed Grace Under Pressure. He said, no. He said, hey, I do need it, and I need Power Windows, and I need Hemispheres and Signals. I said, well, we can get those for Christmas. There's not that much money on Amazon. He was like, no, I don't know, I'm kind of done with Rush. I don't know what he means by he's done with Rush, but he's over his Rush phase, I guess. So, like, that's kind of funny. Anyways, where was I at here? Oh, yeah. So we're going to talk about the rock and roll soundtrack. In the other video that I still have the video, but I can't put it up. And in it, I kind of went into detail about my experience with the movie and stuff. And I might have touched on this like in the heavy metal video for the heavy metal movie. This is a movie that came out in 1983, I want to say. Yes, 83. It was an animated, adult-oriented film. It wasn't as adult as heavy metal, which is kind of funny because after seeing heavy metal in the theater, I wanted to see this thing, and my dad was like, is it going to be like heavy metal? I'm like, no. He's like, all right. And for the most part, it isn't. I mean, I think there's like, somebody swears a couple of times in it, and there's no nudity. I mean, angels dress pretty provocatively, but there's no real nudity or anything like that. Some things are implied, but even that's pretty tame too. I think it's like TV-13 or whatever. I think I would put it at, something like that. Maybe PG-13. That's about as extent of its adult content. But it isn't. But the whole the movie, like the ideas and stuff are supposed to be come from an adult point of view. At least it did back in the 80s. It's a Canadian production by Nelvana. Like I said, there's a couple of documentaries online. There's a few other YouTube channels that I saw by other people who do great jobs of explaining movies. If you just put in rock and roll on YouTube and you're going to pull up probably the movie itself, which is available to watch. You're going to pull up documentaries. You're going to pull up YouTube channels talking about it. I'm not the only one talking about it, but I want to focus this one specifically on the soundtrack. And also, I was kind of hesitant to go back over this and try to do the second job in this movie, because I feel that some of the stuff that I put on, and maybe it's just my channel, because I look at other people's channel talking about the same things, and they have pretty decent numbers. It must just be my standing right now, or my current YouTube status. But I just don't want, I'm pretty passionate about this, and I just feel like I'm kind of just talking at the wall. Like a lot of people are like, huh? Or they don't care, or it's too old, or fill in the blank reasons why they just have no interest in this, which is mind-boggling to me, but maybe not to those people. Like I said, this hit me at a certain time in life, just like a lot of things hit me at a certain time in life, and it really pushed my buttons as a kid. And it's one of the reasons, outside of like Kiss, it's one of the reasons I love music in the first place, and specifically music of that time period. So I'm going to get into it here. So let me switch over. First, I'm going to hit you with, I pulled this up in the other video. This shouldn't get me copyright struck, I don't think. But in the other video, there's a Marvel Comics put out Super Special. I got a CBR copy of it here. I'm not going to go through the comic itself, but I'm just going to fast forward to a couple of scenes just in here real quick. Like I said, the other guy's video, he actually does like almost like a play-by-play and explains the whole story. This is like a Cliff Notes version of it. I highly suggest checking that out if you want to know more about the story. But there's certain scenes like this. I got this comic. These Super Specials seem to be, and all the double-sized stuff I seem to always get from the same drugstore in Rochester that no longer exists. Meadowbrook Mall over in Adams and Walton Boulevard. They had this mall. I've probably talked about it before, Meadowbrook Mall, and then they had at the corner they had a little drugstore, like a pharmacy drugstore, and they had a spinner rack in there for comics. And in 1982, that's where I got the first issue of G.I. Joe, the big double size issue. I got that there, and then the following year, here in '83, that's when I picked up this. And before I even knew about the movie, I saw this, and I was like, "What is this? This is totally." I just love the fact that it was a film. It was literally Not only is the animation amazing, but it's a film adaptation of the movie in comic book form, and it's got the scenes from the movie. I mean, I love that. That's spot on awesome when they do that. When you do a movie like when they do like an art version of a movie, sometimes it looks wonky, but when they do obviously just lifting out the cells, it looks amazing. And the whole point with this too is this band, and I love this. I used to draw this all the time with this guitar. You had the girl with the blonde hair on the keyboards who sings. You got the drummer who vaguely looks like Bunny Carlos, but I'll get to that. And the guitar player that sort of looks like Rick Nielsen, which I'll get to that. So yeah, I just want to show that scene in particular in the comic. And let me flip forward. I guess Mox. Like I said, I'll go over a little bit of the movie when I talk about the soundtracks. I'm gonna go track by track on the thing. There's another good. Was that the mock video? I don't know. I think it was the mock video. Anyways, my name is Mock Video. But let me just skip forward to the end of the comic. Specifically, I want to talk about, because they have a whole section in the back of this comic, which kind of tuned me into what's going on as a kid. I loved that. That was so awesome as a kid. Okay, the making of rock and roll. Not the animation. What I want to talk about specifically is the music of rock and roll. Now let me move myself up here. So I obviously, I saw Cheap Trick in '79 at the Kiss concert, but again, I forgot about that. But up until this particular point, I knew who Debbie Harry was. Because I knew who Blondie was. But I didn't really know specifically who Cheap Trick was. This is '83, too. So, I saw this picture in this two-page spread, actually it's 4-page spread, little article in the comic, and I was like, oh, what's a Cheap Trick? I've heard that name. My sister mentioned that name a few times. I've heard the name. And then I thought, as I saw this guy, I was like, who's this guy? This guy's so cool looking with his hat. He's got a Detroit, we're from Michigan, he's got a Detroit Tigers hat, he's got this crazy sweater, it's crazy glasses, and then, who's this guy? It's like, why do these guys look like the guys in the movie? That's what I thought. And I thought, oh, they're basing the movie on these guys? And I asked my sister, I think I showed her this, and she's like, oh yeah, that's Cheap Trick, they're a cool band. And I was like, oh, I want to know about this. And of course, obviously I knew about Debbie Harry, and I love Debbie Harry. I'm not a huge Lou Reed fan, but Lou Reed does, he does a few songs for Mock, the main villain. He also does, also Iggy Pop does a few songs, or I think one song, can't remember exactly. We'll get to that in the tracks. Earth, Wind, and Fire does a track. Remember, I went to see Earth, Wind, and Fire with my Uncle Bob. And they put on like a big spectacle show too, with all these chrome outfits they got here, these silver shiny outfits. So they kind of look like that. And then I think this woman's the woman who does the score. The score's not really on the soundtrack; it's more of the rock soundtrack. But it's a rock soundtrack, and just like heavy metal, I was just like, I love a rock and roll soundtrack for a movie. Specifically when you've got certain acts on it too. I think whenever you involve comic, I mean, I was watching a video and Cheap Trick was talking about it, and they were talking about why they're so big in Japan, and they got big in Japan first before they got big in the United States. Sure, everybody gets big in Japan, but not everybody. But I mean, Japan loved their acts, their musical acts and stuff from America and Britain and whatnot. But and Robin Zander said, he's like, we looked at the comic books they had there, and he goes, their comic books he's talking about manga. These comic books are real thick, a lot of pages. And he says, I noticed he said, I started noticing once we played there that we started seeing Kiss in the comic books, in the manga. I wonder which ones he's talking about. If you guys know, let me know. But he says, I started seeing us show up, and we became really popular as these cartoon characters. And that's essentially what they are, is that band. The reason why I like them, just like, Kiss, is they're cartoon, they're bigger than life. They're comic book characters. Even though they're singers and they're musicians, they're comic book characters. Because they've just got that thing going. And I love that. I wish there was more of that. I wish there was more of that. I'll get into something else later. But anyways, so I instantly, and then I noticed, I always thought, to this day, until I saw another documentary, I always thought that Rick Nielsen, Robin Zander did the voice of Omar. He doesn't. And I also thought Debbie Harry did the speaking voice of Angel, which she doesn't either. But they both do their singing voices. They have voice actors doing their speaking roles. I always thought that it was them, but because it kind of sounded like Robin Zander a little bit. I'm talking about the original Canadian version, which is, it's funny that one video pointed out that they redid the dialogue, redid the voice acting. I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've never seen anything but the Canadian version. I mean, the VHS tape that I had was the original Canadian version. The DVD I had in the 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s, that was also the original version. I've never heard the other version he's talking about. So, but this whole thing, as soon as I saw this in the comic, I mean, I was blown away by the comic. And when I saw this, I was just like, like I said, it was 1983, hit me right at the right time. And I was like, what is this? I want to know. I want to know more about it. I want to know about, they got these music, it's rock, and it's this movie. The movie's called Rock and Rule, by the way. But, I mean, I wanted to know about this, It just opened this whole kind of world up to me outside of, I mean, I'd already did this in heavy metal, but you heard the soundtrack, and again, I had seen the movie once at the time. This is before it even came to cable. I only had, you didn't see like the behind the scenes stuff, at least back then, of rock and of heavy metal. So this specifically, and just kind of had like, Iggy Pop, like I said, I'm not a huge Iggy Pop fan either. I mean, I like the Stooges. I mean, I like some of his stuff. I don't own any Iggy Pop albums, but I mean, I like what he is. I mean, I like his, and he's a comic book character. I mean, I wouldn't say Lou Reed's necessarily a comic book character, but and Debbie Harry's just beautiful, and she's amazing. So I mean, in my book, she's a comic book character. I mean, these guys too. Look at their outfits. I mean, they're comic book characters. I know they're crazy, 70s. But I'm just saying, it's all part of that. It just all kind of adds to that mystique. So, without any further ado, let's switch over and let's get into the album. And I'm just going to pull it up. So again, I didn't know about this until just recently. Because remember, well, you don't remember because I took down the other video. But in the other video, I'm going to move myself, I'll put myself over here. Oh, is it, how about up here in the corner? Oh, there we go. So, in the other video I mentioned that I always wanted this soundtrack. And I always believed, before, this was pre-internet days, that this soundtrack existed. And it was a hunt. And little did I know that I was searching for a unicorn, because it didn't exist. It said, at the end of the movie, if I watch all the credits, it says, soundtrack available on, I think it said Buena Vista Records. I think that's what they said. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the end of the movie, I'm pretty sure it said Buena Vista. Available on Buena Vista or Arista or something like that, Records, the soundtrack. So I'm like, oh, it does have a soundtrack. So again, I was on the hunt. I was going to music stores. I was having people at the music stores look the stuff up in their databases. And again, it's all pre-internet. And they're like, I don't think it exists unless it's a Japanese import. Now, that's always the case. And then even with Harmony House Berkeley down in Berkeley, they were known for getting all the Japanese imports, and they can look up that stuff. Again, pre-internet. You get Japanese imports on Amazon now. Matter of fact, my Transformers the movie soundtrack is a Japanese import. So anyways, they looked it up. They couldn't find it. They couldn't confirm that it didn't exist, but they couldn't find it. So I was like, oh, I wish I could find this. Record stores, always going through the soundtrack sections, always looking for this. Never found it because it doesn't exist. And then I finally find out via the internet, now that the internet had come out 20-some years ago. I probably found this out like I think I found an article on it in like 2001, 2002, somewhere around there. And they talked about this, and they said, yeah, there was never a soundtrack pressed to vinyl or put on CD or put on cassette tapes or 8-track, whatever. And I was like, really? Huh. Kind of blew the wind out of my sails. I'm like, well, I guess the only way to enjoy that music is to watch the movie. But I was on YouTube the other day, and I think I put in something about rock and roll. I think I was looking for the documentary. I wanted to watch the documentary again. And it popped up, rock and roll, original motion picture soundtrack. What? Sorry. I clicked on it. There are all the songs, all individually tracked. I made a playlist, which is what you're looking at here. And then I went into YouTube Music, opened it up. It says it's in my library. You can't. It's not an album. So if you click here, nowhere does it say go to the album, because it's not an album. But it's a playlist created by whoever it is. You'll see it when it's on there. It's created by whoever's created it. And they are the entire... It's not just rips from the movie, for the most part. I think one or two of them are pieced together from bits of the movie, but most of these are full-length tracks, as you can see in the times there. Full-length tracks of the songs all the way through, like how they would appear on a soundtrack. I was like, oh my goodness. I said, finally. So that's what you're looking at here, and I listened to this a few times through. They're pretty decent copies of everything. But again, from what I found, this is about all you're going to get. And so they got the Cheap Trick. They're all labeled too by who does the songs too. So you got Cheap Trick doing Born to Raise Hell. Debbie Harry doing Angel's Song, because again, she's essentially Angel. Lou Reed doing Triumph in the glory, Triumph in the glory on me. Triumph! Lou Reed does this Triumph song, which is funny. Cheap Trick does I'm the Man, which is the cool song in the beginning where they're at the club, and or I showed you in the comic book where they're like, I hate you! Something blah blah blah, I don't know the words of the song! I need you! Or I hate you, I can't remember how it goes. But it's an awesome song. I'm gonna have to listen to these now that I got these to listen to them quite a bit, and I'm definitely gonna learn that song. I actually figured out on bass the one part in the Invocation song, which is towards the end there during the final climax of the movie. I just love that. It's on the very Black Sabbath-y kind of droned on kind of feel to that song, and it's pretty simple. I figured it out on bass pretty quick. But that's the Invocation song. So then we got Melanie Brown, Hot Dogs and Sushi. Now that's a reconstruction, so I'm thinking that they took parts of that from the movie. But it's during the when they go to the club, the dance club. It's pretty funny. Hot Dogs and Sushi song. And then Earth, Wind and Fire doing also in the club, because they flip to another song while they're in the club, and they start playing Dance, Dance, Dance. Now, I believe Dance, Dance, Dance is available on one of the Earth, Wind and Fire albums. I don't think it was specifically made for this movie, so you could find it pretty easily. Also, Triumph. I think Triumph is just a Lou Reed song. I don't think it was specifically for this movie. So it's probably where these tracks came from. My Name is Mock is the titular Mock song. My name is Mock, thanks a lot. Oh, it's awesome. So he does like this music video in the movie where he kind of introduces himself as he's the greatest thing since World War III. And like I said, I get goosebumps talking about it now. It's just so awesome. I mean, this movie, again, like heavy metal, like certain movies, they've been my favorites for so long. I mean, 40 years this movie has been one of my favorite movies of all time. So much I like this movie. Again, I mean, you guys can chime in saying the animation sucks, the story is terrible, it's antiquated, it's so old, blah blah blah. Give me all the negative banter you want. I don't care. This, for the 30 years left, probably, hopefully plus, on this planet, this will still continue to be one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. Next to Heavy Metal and Transformers the movie. But yeah, and then Cheap Trick doing Home Sweet Hometown there, which is a pretty funny song. Yeah, funny, but it's kind of a funny scene because they're going back to Hometown, which is where they're from, Hometown. Everything's got kind of the nuclear power plant at Hometown. Debbie Harry does the Invocation song, which is really cool. I just love that. I love the down, 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 and then she starts singing with this kind of like slow, droning on, kind of almost like chanting way of singing. Oh, it's just so good. And then Iggy Pop coming in. So Pain and Suffering's when the demon comes through the portal, and it starts with Iggy Pop doing Pain and Suffering. Again, I think that song too is not specifically, for this soundtrack. I think it's from an Iggy Pop album. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is. And then, of course, the final song, which was in Debbie Harry and Robin Zander from Cheap Trick, because remember, it's Omar and Angel. They come together and sing this duet, which is kind of like a continuation of the Angels song, and they just kind of make it bigger, and that's what ends up sending the demon back to hell. Like I said, awesome. The one video was talking about is kind of an anticlimactic ending. I didn't think so. I don't know what that person was expecting. They're making a lot of references to like anime, like Japanese anime, and making a lot of references to a lot of modern day things. And I think he was judging it with a modern day lens. A lot of, like I said, a lot of you people will say, "Oh, it's antiquated, it's old." Well, it wasn't then. It was this was cutting edge technology. This is cutting edge animation. I mean, this is some of the top of the heap stuff. They pumped a lot of money into this, which, I'll talk about that as well. But it, you always A-lister, again, I don't know how much Cheap Trick is an A-list. Maybe even Iggy Pop, not necessarily A-list. I'm sure Lou Reed pretty popular, Earth, Wind and Fire very popular. But again, I think when I was talking about the other, I can't say A-list. Remember I was talking about the other bands and some of the music at the time where a lot of those seem to be like B-list acts. Cheap Trick, Blue Oyster Cult, Rush for the most part was a B-list for a while, until they started headlining. Obviously Cheap Trick started headlining. Debbie Harry was headlining, but a lot of these places at this time were still kind of in that mid-tier. They weren't, the Madonna, and they weren't Michael Jackson at the time. They weren't the Rolling Stones. They weren't the Beatles. But they were definitely popular, and they definitely flew somewhere, between those bands and, obscure bands. So, and again, this is a Canadian production, too. Canada seems to, I don't know if it's because of Rush or what it is, but Canada also seems to be really big on their mid-tier rock acts, too. It's also like progressive rock and stuff like that. It does have I don't know how I can tell you why it is, but this does have when I learned, I didn't know it was Canadian at first, but when I learned about Canada a little more, if that makes any sense, I realized, ooh, this is very Canadian. They don't go around saying sorry all the time. Sorry. Nobody's against anybody. But nobody's ootin' a boot. But anyways, it's very Canadian. Watch the making of it. If you watch the making of it, you'll see how it seems very Canadian. Yeah, like I said, I'm so glad this exists. I'm so glad I can just call it up whenever I want and listen to it. I highly recommend you guys doing the exact same. If you listen to my channel and you listen and you kind of know where I'm coming from with music, I know there's a lot of people that seem to disagree with me on my taste in music, which is completely fine. I mean, that's what being your own person's all about. But this, like I said, like the heavy metal soundtrack, I mean, this song has been imprinted on my id. I mean, like I said, people who know me, like, oh yeah, Tim and heavy metal, Tim and rock and roll, Tim and, they know how much this stuff is like ensconced in my very existence. I don't know if that doesn't make any sense, but anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. So again, I want to talk a little bit about the movie. Just that this movie, and I didn't know about this until recently either. I mean, I knew it was a commercial failure, but I always wondered why. Because it's Canadian? It was like, why did this movie fail? I thought Heavy Metal was a failure, but if you look at Heavy Metal's box office numbers compared to the budget, it was not a failure. That was a commercial success. Rock and Roll, however, was probably, I would say we should probably go on history books as one of the biggest box office failures ever. This movie had a $9 million budget. And at the time, in 1983, that's a lot of cash. And a $9 million budget, you know how much it made at the box office? $30,000. Not $300,000. Not $3 million. $30,000. I was like, what's up with that? I mean, did they market it poorly? They had a comic book from Marvel Comics? I mean, that's about the extent of it. I mean, they didn't have a soundtrack. I don't believe there's a novelization outside of because there really didn't need to be at the comic book. There wasn't any action figures or toys. Again, they're trying to market it towards adults, not really kids. Even though it was very toyetic, they didn't go down that route. So I'm thinking, like, did they just market it poorly? Had a great movie poster. I find out through one of those other sources who did their research, and they found out. They cite their work, I'm pretty sure. So I'm assuming it's true. This could just be hearsay, but is that MGM, who technically I guess still owns the rights, probably, I think, yeah, MGM is the people who copyright struck me when I tried to do the video the first time. MGM, purchased they purchased the rights, I know Nelvana did the production. I don't know if they purchased it exactly, or they were the ones that commissioned it in the first place. But regardless, it was up to MGM to bring the movie to the theaters. And supposedly the story goes that they purposely screwed it up. As in, they wanted a bunch of rewrites. They wanted Nelvana to go back and redo some stuff, which they did, spending more money. And then they ended up putting the movie out, and they didn't like the movie. They didn't think it was. They didn't know how to market it. They didn't understand the movie. This is kind of my reason I hate the movie industry. But anyways, is they didn't understand it, so therefore they throttled it. They specifically throttled it and only put it out to select views. Luckily, we got it at the Hampton in Michigan, which is kind of, in Rochester, which is kind of weird because that's an AMC. I believe it was an AMC at the time. You think it would have been out at all the AMCs, but I guess it was only in select theaters. And yeah, of course it tanked. You didn't put it out. He put it out in like what, probably 50 theaters across the United States, and maybe they had it for like a week, maybe even a week. They probably didn't do any Friday night shows. They probably did everything they could to purposely make the movie tank and fail. Another website said that the reason they did that, which if two people are kind of on the same board, the same story, is that, and I could totally see this because I've seen this firsthand especially with companies around this city, is they did it for a tax write-off. They purposely wanted a loss so they could claim all that money in tax write-off, which seems stupid, doesn't it? Just don't spend. If you're going to spend $9 million, right, because you want a $9 million tax write-off, why don't you just keep the $9 million in your bank? Then, therefore, you and then don't have the right. Do you get more than $9 million if you use it as a tax write-off? I don't know enough about tax laws to tell you, but I mean, it seems retarded to me, unless somebody, I'm just not understanding it correct, which is probably the case. Because why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense. Why would I say, oh hey, I know I'm gonna spend $10,000 this year on something that I know I'm just gonna piss my money away on, right? But I could use it as a tax write-off. Okay, what if I owe like $9,000 in taxes, right? Okay, so I just spent $10,000 of my own money to get a tax write-off when I'm only gonna get $9,000 in tax write-off. I just lost $1,000. That doesn't make any sense. So again, somebody else knows how it works. Let me know, because it doesn't make any sense to me. And if that's the case, again, there's so many. Hollywood has so many strikes in my book where I can't stand them. I cannot, literally, I have nothing but loathing for Hollywood. I have nothing but loathing for a lot of companies. I understand corporations and companies, they work, they are what they are. It's just that, I don't know. The bottom line is money, and I understand that. I can totally understand that. But at the same time, it's just like, I just feel like you're just pissing things away that could be great, because you don't think they are. And it's like, you could be right. Maybe it does. Maybe nobody would. Maybe if they put it out in theaters, maybe it would have tanked anyways. Maybe MGM was 100% correct. That we don't know how this movie is going to like this movie, and nobody liked it. I sure the hell loved it. And there's a lot of people that I know, what do you call it? Peers of mine also love this movie. I don't know anybody personally that hates this movie. Everybody that I know thinks this movie. Some people are like, it's okay. They're not as gaga over it as I am. But I mean, I don't know anybody who's just like, oh god, that movie's terrible. I don't know anybody that said that I know, that I've ever known. I mean, even the people that were kind of giving some negative criticism, they still loved the movie. They just had, just like everything, you nitpick problems with it. So, all right, so we're kind of coming to the end of this one. Let me make some. Like I said, I love all the comments. Keep the comments coming. Remember, make sure to subscribe, all that jazz. Keep the comments coming in. I love all the comments. But it's not that I'm getting kind of. I don't mind explaining things to people, so that's why I'd rather do it in the video where I can actually talk instead of me just typing out a message. So some of the people who've made comments were asking me questions, and I didn't write them all down, so I'm not going to address them all. But just the ones that off the top of my head. It's an easier way for me to talk about it. Again, I'm going to say it for the 1,000th time. I'm not trying to make clickbait with the videos. Trust me, I hate clickbait, and I'm hoping that none of my thumbnails come off as clickbait. If they are, let me know. And tell me why, because I would like, don't just say, hey, tell me exactly why you think it is. That way I can, correct course. Because I try not to make clickbait videos, and by me, say, putting the Ace Frehley, a little screen cap of the movie, and what else am I going to put? What else am I going to put you see how I do thumbnails. I put a little picture. I usually put like a title or something or a logo, and I put a picture of myself reacting to it, right? What else am I going to put? I'm just going to put Ace Frehley 10,000 volts and not put something? I don't think the album's out, so I can't put the album cover up there. And then he'll just bitch and moan about, he'll complain about me. That's clickbait, that I'm not playing the album. No, I'm not going to play the album. This is a reaction video in the fact is I'm reacting to it. But maybe I shouldn't put reaction video in my description, because maybe everybody assumes that a reaction video is I play the video or the album or the movie and I'm in the corner reacting to it, right? I'm not going to do that, because I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. And if there's a way around that, people are doing it. I don't know how they're doing it, but I haven't seen that. Like I said, the first time I tried to do anything, and I didn't even have sound. I just played some of this movie, some scenes of this movie in the background playing, just so there's something moving, so it wasn't just a static image. Strike one. So I'm never again am I going to try to do that. I've had a couple other videos. I didn't get copyright strikes, but other videos got pulled down because I had, I think the Dune one, is it the Dune one? Dune one I think got pulled down, and I think maybe the Dirty Pair one got pulled down because I just played little snippets of the movie. I should have known better, but I did. Now, once, I was just cutting my teeth on YouTube, and obviously it bit me in the ass, so I'm not going to do that again. So again, I'm just going to keep saying it. If you're coming to my video to see the video for the first time, it doesn't seem logical. Why wouldn't you just, if you see me show, here's a video, right, by Ace Frehley 10,000 volts, right, and you click on it, maybe I should say right in the back of every new video that I'm not going to play the video, right? Wouldn't you just stop? Hit pause on my video, or get rid of my video. Open another tab, even if it's on your phone, and type in Ace Frehley 10,000 volts music video. Boom, there it is. Right? It's that simple. Like I said, unless you're expecting you want a reaction from me and you want to see that type of video, I can understand that too, but that's not what I'm doing. So in that regard, sure. I apologize for leading people on if that's what I'm doing, but that's not, like, again, there's no book written on how to do this stuff. This is all just, you're throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks. And so, again, there's just me throwing feces at said wall to see what sticks. And so now I know, okay, if I play something that, and I don't want to sit there and stress about whether or not, is this going to look like clickbait or not? But regardless, I'll let people know in the beginning, hopefully I did with this one, I'm not going to play the album. I'm not going to play the songs. All right, I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to show maybe a visual aid, just so you know what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to play the music. I'm not going to play the movie clip. I'm not going to play the music video. So going forward, let's just put that out there so that's straight, right? What was some of my other stuff? I had some comments, which I like these comments. There's comments talking about, I made a comment that, Nirvana, I felt like music has died with Nirvana. Somebody came on back at me, it's like, Nirvana saved music. I think I know what they're talking about. They didn't explain themselves, but I think I know what they're talking about. In that regard, if you're that kind of person, meaning if you hated the 80s, right, or you hated like hair metal, which I'm not a huge hair metal fan myself either, but if you hated, and I hate the word hair metal because nobody referred to it as hair metal in the 80s. It's like a new thing that everybody's got to have a word for something nowadays, right? Oh, it's hair metal, or just it's metal. It's just like nobody referred to it. Those things back then. I don't even think I really referred to heavy metal music as heavy metal ever. I've always referred to it as just rock, or it's hard rock, or it's harder rock. Because I'm not really a big heavy metal fan. I'm sure I like Iron Maiden, I like Judas Priest, but it's not like I'm just a metalhead, like, that's all I'm listening to is heavy metal. No, obviously I like other things. I mean, I like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Are they heavy metal? No. Cheap Trick is not heavy metal. Debbie Harry is not. Lou Reed, I'm not a huge Lou Reed fan, but I'm just saying that stuff is not heavy metal. There's other things in the world besides heavy metal, I guess, which somebody could come back and say against me, hey, there's other thing against the world, in the world besides shit that came out 40 years ago. That's fair enough. Yeah, so I personally think that music died in the 90s, and I kind of tried to explain in the comment reply to this. Here's my take on that. I didn't like the 90s, right? I don't like being an adult for the most part, right? After I turned 18 in 1991, I became an adult, right? Now, maybe some people don't think I did, but by just sheer fact of numbers, I became an adult, right? And you were thrown at the wolves, right? You didn't have the protection of living at your parents', and you can still live at your parents', but anyways, you were expected to go out and take on all these responsibilities, right? And a lot of the responsibilities I did not want to take on in life. Now, obviously, you got to work. Obviously, you got to do things, to live on the world. You have to pay money to live on the planet you were born on. Unfortunately, so from that, again, I don't like to be constantly reminded of times in my life that I don't like, and I literally did not like the 90s. The 90s, lots of things I didn't like about the 90s. And when I think of bands, especially like Nirvana, especially all like grunge stuff and a lot of that alternative stuff, it pulls up a lot of sore spots with me, just about people in general, people that I didn't like, people that just bothered me. And again, this is all me. This is, I'm the bad guy here. I'm the one who's got the deep-seated issues on things. And like I said, and all of the stuff just from the 90s, whenever I hear it, it makes me think of that time period, and I don't like it. Remember, I'm very nostalgic, and I very strongly have strong direct ties to good parts of my life and bad parts of my life. And even with all the bad shit that was going on in the 80s and when I was a kid, because there was a lot of bad shit going on. Maybe because I was too young to really grasp exactly everything about it, but as I become an adult, I was more savvy to it, and I started seeing stuff. And again, I'm not going to get into this whole thing about my life, but anyways, I feel like music specifically, since it's so powerful, it reminds me of Nirvana and 91 forward. It just reminds me of that time, and I don't like that time. There was a certain time in the 2000s where I got really kind of into new music. Bands like Wolf Mother, I still like them. I liked Wolf Mother. I kind of got into the Sword a little bit. There was some indie bands, like indie lo-fi bands like Interpol and Franz Ferdinand. There's a few different bands that I kind of got into. I loved the American Idiot, the Green Day American Idiot video. Okay, there's a band that I it's weird because that first album, Dookie, reminds me of that time period that I didn't like. And but for some reason, I kind of push it off to the side. But when American Idiot came out, and I have some fond memories with that. I went to see the concert twice with a buddy. There was a girlfriend at the time I had. She was into it, and I've got fond memories of that. Like I said, when I said most music. I think I did when I made the comment. I said, by and large, or however I wanted to say it, the majority of music I feel died with Nirvana. However, that's not to say that there was some stuff that passed through post 1991 that I do like, and I still like today, right? I don't know about there's lots of it out there that I'm missing. And again, I want keep the conversations coming, but if you're going to tell me something like, hey, you're missing out on all these new bands, list them. Tell me at least give me three. Give me three bands that you think that I'm missing out on, and I'll give you my opinion on them. Or I don't know who they are, and I have to listen to it. Somebody mentioned a Skid Row album, a new Skid Row album. I was never a big Skid Row fan. Skid Blow, as I used to call them as a kid. I never was a Skid Row fan back when they were popular, so I'm not necessarily going to maybe not like the Skid Row album now. But remember, like I said, I wasn't. There was a lot those type of bands even in the 80s. I wasn't a big fan. I wasn't a big fan of hair metal, which we didn't call it back then. I didn't like Poison. I thought Poison was stupid. I thought there's a lot of bands like that I just did not like. I don't like that band. Like I said, I've kind of listed what are my 5 favorite bands? Rush, Yes, Kiss, Cheap Trick, The Police, Blue Oyster Cult, Journey, I guess it's more than 5. I'm trying to think of my album collection. Well, even that's 7 bands, right? Those are my favorite bands. So there's certain ones that I didn't like back then either. So All right. Well, I'm just going to keep babbling on about this. So let me kind of hit the brakes. Like I said, if you want to talk about it, by all means, throw some stuff in the comments. Like I said, but again, if you're going to tell me that I'm missing something or I need to check something out, let me know what that is, so therefore I can do it. Now, I have not listened to that Skid Row album that the person suggested. I will eventually. I'm not in a huge rush to do it. Like I said, I don't really didn't like old Skid Row, but somebody did suggest it, so I will take the time to go check it out. It might not be tonight. It might not be next week. It might not even be next month, right? But sometime I'll be like, hey, I'll check it out. But and again, same thing with the other stuff. Like I said, let me know what I'm missing. Let me know. Give me. Like, I'm trying to explain myself. So when I say music is dead after Nirvana, I'm trying to explain where I'm coming from. Now, I know people don't want to type a dissertation, but at least give me a little bit more on your point of view, so I can kind of, that's how a conversation works. So we'll do that. Again, I'm not trying to dog on anybody who's made the comments that they made. Like I said, I encourage people, make comments. Like I said, even if it ruffles my feathers a little bit, that's fine. Give me a comment. I'd rather comments that make me think, comments that make me respond or react, is better than no comments at all. So, I like to hear where other people are coming from. It also kind of helps me gauge my channel, where I should go. Hey, if everybody is telling me I'm an idiot and stop liking the movie Heavy Metal, I'm not going to stop liking the movie Heavy Metal, but maybe I won't do any more heavy metal videos on the movie, not the genre. Maybe, hey, would you stop doing stuff on toys, right? Let me know this stuff, or hey, do more videos on Kiss. I'm trying. There's only so much I can do on that. So, again, remember, these videos I usually think of like 10 minutes before I make the video. So it's whatever's here at that particular moment. I do rarely any kind of, at the last minute I might pull some shit together to give you something. It's not just me sitting here talking. Some kind of visual aid. So, again, this is just, I sit here and work all morning here, and I'm thinking, oh, hey, you know what I'm thinking of talking about today? I'm going to talk about this. So that's how I come up with the stuff. I don't really put a lot of thought into it. So it must sound like I don't put a lot of thought into it. So, again, I start making money at this. Sure as shit, I'm going to put more thought into it. But right now I'm making that much. So I'm not going to put a lot of time and effort into it. But it's fun, and I like it, and I enjoy it, so I'm just going to keep doing it. And like I said, I like the back and forth with people, even if we get into arguments. Trust me, one of my best friends, we argue all the time. And he's still my best friend. So there's that. Alright, so I'll catch you guys later on the next video, which this one I'll post, what's today, Thursday? I'll put this one tomorrow on Friday, and then I'll probably make a video on Friday, and then I won't post it until Monday. Remember, going down to Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for posting videos, so I need to, I think I just got a little crazy trying to do 5 of them a week, so, and I got to get some shit done, so there's that too. Alright, I will catch you guys later, and I came in just under an hour. Alright, talk to you then, bye-bye.